Coach, we need to have a talk. Not just you and I. This is a talk for Coach Trevor 15 years ago. You got yourself a hammer and everything is looking like a nail. Now, let me explain a little bit more. Are you actually serving the client, or are you just selling the one thing that you know? Right? Because your clients didn't hire you for workouts. They hired you for a result. But many, many moons ago, when Coach Trevor was just getting started, he knew workouts, he knew movement. And so that's what he was selling. But the vast majority of his clients weren't necessarily coming to him for movement. They were coming to him for a result. And over the course of time, many, many years, it took me a while to learn, but we've since evolved. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that process today. My name is Trevor. I'm your resident CEO, and this is Build with the CEO, where we help turn your coaching into an actual real business, one episode at a time. Today, we're talking about the evolution of coaching in my business, and we're going to talk a little bit about Project Orange, which is something that we launched in the last year, and how we got there, right? Because I think this will be purposeful for you, even if your core competency is nutrition, or your core competency is behavior change, or your core competency is workouts, right? All of us got into this industry with a core competency. And if we just stay with that competency, it's the whole if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? The old adage. And so we need to start expanding that. And today I'm going to talk a little bit too about what I believe are the three key components to being a really successful coach in this industry and really changing people's lives. Because people are here looking for results, right? They want results. They don't want a workout. So that's the title of this episode, right? Your client didn't hire you for a workout. They hired you for a result. And so are we doing everything we can to get that client the result? And then are we using our marketing, right, and our education to show that we can help people get results? In like the early 2000s, right, if you're in the fitness world, in like the early 2000s, all of these kind of new implements were becoming popular, right? Kettlebells were becoming super popular. TRXs were becoming super popular. Val slides were becoming popular, right? People were writing entire articles on these, and you can do an entire workout with just some Val slides, which are like an expensive version of furniture movers, right? And so people were becoming experts in kettlebells or experts in TRX, and like the typical fitness professional had 75 certifications behind their name in every implement possible, right? Kettlebell is one that always comes to mind because a true kettlebell person is pretty hardcore kettlebell, and nothing against these people. But if all I know are kettlebells, kettlebell becomes the solution to everything, right? I need to lose weight. All right, kettlebells. All right, I need to move better. Kettlebells. I need to get stronger. All right, more swings and get-ups. Not that those aren't things that will help you get stronger, but if that's your only tool, right, everything's looking like a nail. And so I think the best coaches are the ones that find the right tools for the client, which is why I love the gym, right? Which is why a gym 9 times out of 10 is way better than working out at home. Because at my gym, I've got sleds, I've got barbells, I've got sandbags, I've got kettlebells, I've got landmines, I've got dumbbells, I've got suspension trainers, I've got sliders, I've got turf, I've got everything that I want, machines, cardio equipment, everything that I want, right? And so I can find the right tool that I need on that day. Right? Maybe I'm a little beat up and I need to do some sled work rather than heavy barbell work, right? Or maybe I have a client that needs a little assistance with a suspension trainer, right? So it's finding the tools that solve the client's problem, right? And then all of our marketing is around getting the client's result, not that I'm a kettlebell expert. Hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to talk about that today. But the arching question that we should be asking ourselves is, are we serving the client? Right? Because clients aren't buying training. They're buying like the result of training. They're buying the confidence, right? They're buying the energy. They're buying the body composition, the way they feel when they see themselves naked, right? That is ultimately what they're buying. Workouts are kind of a necessary evil, and they need to hire someone to get them to actually do them, right? But if we're really good with a specific tool, we can fall into the trap of that is the tool for everything. And we kind of start selling that tool as the solution, right? Where It's not really the tool that's going to like solve all the client's problem. When we're doing our marketing, when we're building our landing page, when we're doing education, right? We should be talking about the problem and the solutions to the problem. The tools, your education, all of that, that's just like your special sauce in helping someone achieve the things they want to achieve. And I'll give you kind of a little backstory on what we used to do with our facilities. So we have training facilities, and obviously they're training facilities. So training is a core piece of what we do on a day-to-day basis. But a lot of clients were coming to us for weight loss. And early on, we didn't really have anything else. Like, all right, here's a PDF to learn about some good nutrition, and hey, let's train three times a week, right? But our offering was 3 times a week training. What should I do for weight loss? 3 times a week training, and here's a PDF. What should I do to get stronger? 3 times a week training. What should I do to get more mobile? 3 times a week training. Right? That was our solution because that was our hammer, right? That's all that was the only thing we had in our toolbox was training. And we did that for a really long time. We were really good at training. And like, despite our incompetencies in lots of areas, we were able to build a clientele base because we really cared about our clients. We found ways to help them be successful, but we weren't actually providing them with the correct solution to their problem. And it took a while. And if the first solution to people's problems was 6-week challenges, we ran those for a really, really long time. They worked extremely well. They ultimately built the business, and we still use them sporadically as a way to engage with people. And that worked for a short period of time. Like, people got great results for those 6 weeks, and they had a tendency to fall off. And so, like, yes, it was a short-term solution, but it wasn't a long-term solution. And at our facilities, we believe in long-term solutions. So again, we had a different tool in our toolbox, but it really wasn't the right tool. And it wasn't until recently, I mean, this was an idea probably a couple of years ago, but we just fully implemented it in, I think, its correct variation about a year ago, and we call it Project Orange. And it is a specific track. It's a transformation track where we're going to work on lifestyle, we're going to work on nutrition, and we're going to do the training all in one. It is an inclusive package that's going to help someone be successful, right? Because we were helping people kind of be successful, but we didn't really have good strategy behind it. We didn't have a good solution behind it. We kind of just got lucky that people, started making some changes nutritionally and then improved their body composition, right? But our success rate wasn't good enough for what we wanted to do. And so that's why we created this separate solution. Because when I sit down with someone, yes, they may just want to train. Cool. Then we have the hammer that's going to handle that nail, right? But if they come to me and they give me all of the weight loss, all of the transformation vibes, if I just sell them training, I'm actually doing that client a disservice, right? And this is why in a lot of episodes, I talk about understanding your client, your perfect client at the deepest level. Because when we understand them at the deepest level, we can offer them with the correct solution to their problem. And this is something we did wrong for a long time because all we had was a hammer. And so as I got better, developed my skill set, brought on coaches that had different skill sets, we were then finally able to offer something like Project Orange, which is a lifestyle, fitness, and nutrition offering that ultimately solves someone's problem. Okay? And we have a very specific roadmap that they go through. Phase 1 is reset, phase 2 is rebuild, phase 3 is refine. And we can repeat any phase along the way if someone does need to go through that again. It is more expensive, it is a higher ticket item, but it is ultimately solving the problem. And so it comes back to that question that I asked at the beginning around, are you actually solving the client's problem with the correct solution, right? If we're using workouts to solve weight loss, we're not using the right tool. It is a tool, but we need other tools in order to do that effectively, specifically nutrition and lifestyle or behavior change, right? When we have all those 3 together, that's the secret sauce. If we have just one component of it, we're not quite there. And out of those components, fitness is probably the lowest on the totem pole out of all of them. So we built Project Orange, right? We built Project Orange as the solution to the clients that we were seeing coming through our doors and the people that we felt like we could help at a really high level. And now we're going a step further because now as a gym, we have access to some of these tools and we're going to start implementing medical weight loss as an option for our Project Orange. So if someone comes to me and they fit the criteria for Project Orange, right, we don't just sell it to everybody because it's the most expensive thing on our menu. We sell it to the right people because it's the correct solution for their problem. right? So they're going to come to us with Project Orange. And then they're going to decide which route they want to go with Project Orange. Would you like to go the medically assisted route, where you're going to work with our medical provider and they're going to make sure that you're a good fit for moving in this direction? And then if you are a good fit, they're going to prescribe the correct medication to make this happen, right? And then you're going to be doing our curriculum, working with your coach, handling the strength component, the fitness component, doing the lifestyle stuff. And then we're using the tool of medical weight loss to help make this easier, right? Because if you've been in the weight loss world long enough, you understand what's the biggest problem with weight loss. Like, what's the hardest thing about weight loss? Hunger, right? We need to be in a caloric deficit. So we are going to be hungry. Your body doesn't want to be hungry, right? And when you're surrounded by food and have 24/7 access to food, hungry then becomes a slight annoyance because you can go get rid of that in an instant, right? And so we can utilize tools that are now available to us to help someone be more successful. So we'll have a medically assisted route. But then if someone doesn't want to go that route, awesome. They're ready to dive in and like take the bull by the horns and get after it. Then we have our unassisted or unmedically assisted route. And that's not what we're going to call it, or it's not what we call it. But they're basically just not going to use, they're not going to use peptides to help with that. Right. So we have these two routes, and the client's going to be able to choose. Obviously, the medically assisted is going to be more expensive, right? Because we're going to include those as part of the program, right? We're going to work with our care provider so that that we're doing it right by this client. They're going to be doing blood work. They're going to be working with their care provider, and then we're going to be handling the fitness, the nutrition education, and the lifestyle education, and then ultimately the accountability of executing, right? And so it's going to serve the client at the highest level. But if I was still just in my hammer mode of all I know is fitness, I probably couldn't jump to that solution right away because I wouldn't have the necessary skill set in order to do that. So you have a few options, right? We can hire for it. We can hire someone that has that skill set that complements yours, or we can dig in and we can learn it. And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit because learning is a core component of what we do at Coach Catalyst. Over the last 10 years, we've put on countless in-person events, online events to help our community level up. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, so you have to hang out. But there's what I believe is like three core competencies that every great coach has. And these are the things that we train at our facility to make sure each of our coaches at our facilities is world-class at these. We want them to be world-class at these because if you check these three boxes as a coach, you can help virtually anyone, right? Which means you can find your perfect client and you're going to be able to help them. Yes, there is some like kind of insider knowledge with specific things, but these are kind of the core fundamentals that underlie all coaching inside of the health and wellness space. Okay, so there's three components here. The first one is a fitness component. And most people find us at Coach Catalyst probably because of fitness. Fitness is the most common. Personal trainers are it's a common kind of profession, right? People know what that is, right? And that's very much associated with training, with fitness. And so that's number one, or that's one. I shouldn't say it's number one. You can do these in any order, but that is one of the three, right? The training, the stimulus. Most coaches already own this one. Okay. The second one is nutrition, right? Especially if we're in the weight loss, transformation, even feel better, more energy world, nutrition should be a core component of what you do, right? And so what are we feeding the body? This helps dictate our response to training if we're getting that right. This might be macros, this might be habits, but we need to have a core competency around nutrition, right? And I don't care what fence you sit on, right? You should actually know all of them. You should be able to know how to do the macro-based stuff. You should know how to do the habit-based stuff, right? And you should educate around it. That's a big piece of nutrition. And the third one, and this is usually the one that people miss, and the one as you grow as a coach that you come into more and more. And this is behavior change, right? This is probably one of the hardest ones, especially if you're coming into this world from a fitness or nutrition background. Because it's a little bit more psychological, right? It's a little bit more around actual humans and how do we get humans to change their behavior, which is arguably one of the most challenging things to do. And this is where your adherence comes from, right? Motivational interviewing falls into this one, right? It's a technique to help basically talk someone through the change process, right? Understanding all this. And there's an entire profession around this. And so we don't need to know everything about it, but we need to be dangerous in this world, because you may know exactly what the client needs to do, but getting them to actually follow through on it is a different story. And this is the one that I probably came into the latest. I was first introduced to some of these concepts with Precision Nutrition when I was going through their level 2 certification. It's starting to become more and more popular. So there's different certifications out there. But this is the one that most coaches usually need to seek out. And once you start getting knowledge and going deeper in this area, that's when the real transformations start to happen. And it's super cool. So our coaches, we look at 3 things. We look at fitness. We want them to be world-class at fitness. We look at nutrition. We want to be world-class at nutrition. And the third one is behavior change. We want them to be world-class on helping people improve their behaviors. And if you have those 3 components, that's the foundation. Literally, you can coach anything, right? You can go in any specialty direction that you want, and you're going to be really, 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 really good. And so where do we learn all this stuff? Like, that's the next question. So there's lots of places, and I could give you a ton of recommendations. But one thing that we do at Coach Catalyst for free for our entire community, whether you're using Coach Catalyst, whether you're using Growth Catalyst, or you're just on our email list or in our world, is we provide education. Education in the form of, I write weekly newsletters. I write 3 newsletters a week. Monday and Wednesday are more geared towards the coaching process. Friday is a research article that gives you some insight that you can use with your clients. We have this show that happens on a weekly basis. We have in-person events, and then we also have virtual events. So we did a virtual event earlier this year called The Future of Coaching. And that was really, where is this industry going? And we had some incredible people come on and talk about their vision for this industry and where they believe it's going. Now, we have a new one that is launching, and no one knows about it except the speakers at this event, that is launching on July 16th. Okay, on July 16th is our next event, and it is the Nutrition Coaching Summit. And this is part of our Super Coach series. So this is where we help educate coaches. And this is going to go deep into the world of nutrition. I've collected up 10 of the brightest minds in the nutrition world, and they're going to spend 55 minutes each. One is going to spend 90 minutes, but 55 minutes each through the course of a day. I've got them all lined up over the course of a day, live, and they're going to go deep on their topic. And so today we talk about it. Tomorrow it's actually open to be able to register. We've got some final things that we want to clean up, but I want to use today, I've got the almost final version of the site that I want to show you just to get you excited a little bit about what's going on, because this is super, super, super exciting. We have some of the coolest people inside of the nutrition world, and they're going to be educating as we go along. So here we go. July 16, 2026, the Nutrition Coaching Summit. We got 10 different talks, 11 different people, and I'm going to just run you through them quick. We've got Dr. Lane Norton. This dude has over 1 million followers on Instagram and is an extremely smart dude, and he's going to be coming on talking about metabolic adaptation. We've got Dr. Krista Scott Dixon, and she is going to be talking about, she recently just published a new big book. The thing, I wish I had it here to show you. It is massive. And funny story is, I talked about PN stuff. I went through PN level 1 and PN level 2, and Krista was an informal mentor to me through the work that she was doing at Precision Nutrition. And so it's kind of cool to come full circle and have her coming on. Dan Gardner is going to be talking about some blood work with Vitality. Jen Broxterman, one of my good friends, is going to be coming on. She's been to our in-person summit, and she always kills it and provides incredible information. She runs an incredible coaching practice along with a certification. We've got Eve coming on to talk some macro stuff. We've got Aaron to talk about some habits. We've got Dr. Deborah Teplow that's going to be talking about some motivational interviewing, and not really just motivational interviewing. How do we go beyond that? She's got some really cool techniques that are going to be effective in the behavior change process. We've got Aaron Power coming on to help talk about what's called symptomatology, right? So using symptoms in your scope of practice to be able to help clients achieve the result that they want to achieve. Again, coming back to how do we make sure that we position ourselves and that how we educate ourselves so that we can help the client achieve the result they want to achieve and not just use the tools that we have at our disposal. We've got Kane, my co-founder, coming on. He's going to bring AI into the picture and talk about how it can be used for nutrition coaches in the correct way. Kane is doing some incredible stuff with AI, both inside of our platform at Coach Catalyst, but also in educating our coaches on how to use it effectively, and it's going to be super awesome. And then we've got Asher Health coming on to talk about how to add wellness and medicine into your practice the right way. We're going to talk heavily about GLP-1s, but we're going to talk about some other things as well. They're doing some really cool stuff. They're doing some really cool stuff there, and we're going to bring them on. That's the company that we will be partnering with at our facilities. So I wanted to have Dr. Crystal and Josh come on and just explain where that industry is going, what to be aware of. And I believe this is one company, Asher Health, that is doing it right. There's a lot of charlatans out there in that world, a lot of noise. It's kind of the Wild West, and so you have to be careful who you hit your targets to. So that's coming out. July 16th is the summit. It is not live yet. I will be sending an email tomorrow, and then we'll be getting the ads and everything up, so you'll start seeing that pop up. It is free, so you can come and join for free and listen to every talk live. You can watch the recordings for up to 48 hours afterwards. I run an entire day. I fired this thing up at 9 a.m., and I don't think we close it down until about 8 p.m. Central. So it's going to be awesome with a great group of people. And it is free. So it's free to everyone, free to Supercoach users, free to Coach Catalyst users, free to Growth Catalyst users, free to everyone. It's free to come in. But we do have a VIP special if that is something where you want to go deeper. And I've absolutely stacked this VIP special. We've got over $5,000 worth of value, and actual value, not just like BS, like you make up numbers value, but like actual value from a bunch of the speakers. And so you're going to want to check that out. It's a very small investment for a very, very, very large return. So I'll let you check that out. I want to keep it a little bit of a surprise once you get there. So that's what we got. That is going to be launching tomorrow. I'm recording this today on the 23rd of June. So the 24th, that thing is going to be live. So definitely check it out. It's an incredible crew, a ton of learning. And this one is very specific to the nutrition space, nutrition and behavior change space. So remember those three competencies that I just talked about: fitness, nutrition, behavior change. This is going to handle those too, and it's going to go deep. Incredible group of people that are going to help educate you and help you level up your coaching. So that's what we got for today. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. This is Build with the CEO. My name is Trevor, and we're all about helping turn your coaching into a real business. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.